Good evening, everyone. I'm Art Fennell. As always, we thank you for being part of the program tonight. Of course, we all know the story. Man meets woman. They fall in love. They get married. For the majority of us here in the Western world, that's the perfect beginning to the perfect marriage, we hope. But for many cultures, specifically Indian and Middle Eastern cultures, families and marriages formed for the sake of love are few and far between. It's an accepted fact that a person's family will play a role in picking your partner. Tonight on The Report, we're going to talk about that. We'll explore both sides of the arranged marriage. You'll meet an arranged couple who's making it work, and you'll also meet a woman who's defined all of her cultural norms. We'll begin with that arranged couple locked into love. Correspondent Satina Bindra has our cover story report.
Meet 26-year-old Ramneek Singh. He runs his own business selling kitchenware. In a country where most people use public transport, he drives his own $40,000 car, loves designer clothes, listens to cool music, and has an MBA. Still, for all these modern-day trappings, tradition plays a major role in Ramneek's life. He wears a turban, a sign of the Sikh faith, which emphasizes the need for personal meditation. Ramneek also enjoys visiting the Sikh temple. And he's just agreed to an arranged marriage.
Love was never on mine. So it had to be arranged. I was quite prepared in my mind about that.
Ramneek's fiancée is 24-year-old Preet Kiran. Also a Sikh, she too has an MBA and has worked as a business consultant. Preet says even with all the growth and modern influences in India, it's still hard for men and women to date. So she agreed to meet and marry someone introduced by her parents.
Parents are there to guide you. They will not never really, guide you the wrong way.
The couple's first meeting barely lasts 10 minutes, but after consulting their families, both say yes.
Thing is in your mind always that your dad also got married like this, and your granddad, and the people around you that you see, they've all got married the same way. So probably it is successful.
The divorce rate in India, where arranged marriages are the norm, is still just under 2%. Armed with that assurance, and just weeks after their first meeting, Ramneek and Preet are engaged.
Certainly it is convenient because give me my education, give me my genes, give me my bride too. That's something which modern day young people are looking forward to from their parents.
And parents are happy to help. Preet's family calls in caterers, workmen to construct fancy tents, and flower decorators. They're spending almost $200,000 on the wedding. Festivities are going to last a full week, and this is the first among many elaborate parties being hosted by the couple's relatives. Tonight, it's Preet's family's turn. They've invited over 150 guests. No expenses being spared to showcase the family's wealth and status. Next day, more celebrations. This time, it's Ramneek's family that's going all out. But where's the bridegroom? Decked in his best, he's actually riding a white stallion. Part of a function where both families are being formally introduced. Preet arrives escorted by her relatives. Moments later, the couple hangs garlands around each other. It's a picture-perfect moment, one that underscores how the young are using a traditional method of marriage to meet modern-day aspirations. Next morning, the couple walk around the Sikh holy book to solemnize their wedding. Both say they're prepared for surprises.
If you've known a person for years and years, marriage is just putting a stamp on your relation. But in an arranged marriage, that surprise and suspense is there, Everything is new.
A feeling that captures the essence of life for tens of millions of young Indian couples. Educated, ambitious, and aggressive, yet a generation still rooted in their ancient culture and tradition. Satinda Bindra, New Delhi.
Okay, now from the traditional arranged marriage, one that apparently seems to be working, to the other side of the story. Of course, not all young men and women follow the wishes of their families. Take the case of a young Indian woman who's going against the odds, define her family and define her culture. Joining me now to share her personal story is Pauline Westplate from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Pauline, thanks for talking to me tonight.
Thanks for having me on, Art.
Thank you. First now, give me the background of what was supposed to happen in your case.
Well, my parents came to the United States of America in the 60s, and they had us here, my sister and I. We were born and raised here. And they raised us to be American and Indian. They wanted us to be the perfect blend. So it was kind of expected because we were kind of American and Indian. They thought, you know, if they find someone when they're in school and they bring someone home to us, it would be okay. But if they haven't found anyone by the time they're 22 or 23, they need to get an arranged marriage.
So that's what happened to you?
Well, I turned 22 and I still hadn't found the man of my dreams. So my family started saying, okay, we need to find you someone. You need to look in these matrimonial ads. You've got websites online. And I said, no way. I was born here. I was raised here. I know I follow all the cultural norms of the United States of America. I'm an American, and I'm not just going to sit there and sacrifice my entire life for someone I don't know.
Well, let's stop right there, because some would say that you had become westernized and that you certainly didn't want to go the traditional or cultural way for you. So how big of a deal was that, just for you to say that? And what kind of negative reaction did you get as a result of it?
Well, I have to say, first of all, that I am pretty lucky that my parents are more cooler than some other Indian parents. So when I first said it, and I said that I'm not going to get married unless I find someone on my own, there was a very negative reaction. They said, you can't do that. People will talk about you. You're not allowed to live single as an Indian girl. What will people say? What will our family say? You know, my parents, I think, were more worried about what other people were going to say rather than being worried themselves. But on the other hand, they wanted me to be happy, so they kind of stepped back and let me do my thing. But as the years passed by and I still wasn't married, they started putting the pressure on, and they kept trying to convince me that an arranged marriage would be a good idea because they had one and so many people around me had one. Okay. And, you know, they did get mad.
I hear you. Now, you found someone and you married a white man.
Yes,
and tell me what that process was like as we'll take a look at the picture of your husband.
Well, I met him, and since I just came home one day and I said, I found the man I want to marry. And when I told them that he was white, they were completely shocked because I think they just had assumed on some level that I was going to marry an Indian man one day. And they actually accepted that fact right away. But the problems for me came from extended family. And you would think that it would be the older aunts and uncles who would have given me problems or who would have come and said things to my parents. But most of the problems came from people who were of my generation. Some of my cousins and friends and family who had been raised here and were born here, they were the ones who were saying things like, you cannot marry outside of your culture, your marriage will be ruined, it's not going to last, you're going to get divorced, he's going to leave you, he's white, you're Indian, you have nothing in common with him.
Well, how long have you guys been married now?
9 months.
And so far so good?
We are extremely happy, and culture is never an issue. I mean, he's from Wisconsin, I'm from Minnesota. We grew up eating cereal in front of the TV and watching Looney Tunes. I mean, there's no cultural differences for us because we grew up in the same way. And so what those family members were saying to us really didn't apply because
Sure.
I grew up here and so did he.
Yeah. Well, and in a lot of ways, that is exactly the same case for many interracial marriages here in the United States, and people have often had a hard time with that, and others have accepted it quite nicely. But what does it say, Pauline, in terms of the new way or the new culture, perhaps, for your people, as it was said in the report, educated and influenced by American culture here, and a whole new way of thinking, perhaps?
Well, okay, my opinion is that first-generation Indians who are being raised here, they are exposed to a whole new world. You know, they're growing up in a different way, and their parents are pushing something else on them. And these first generations are confused. There's a term that they coined called ABCD, and that stands for American Born Confused Desi, and Desi stands for anyone of Indian or Pakistani origin. And people of my generation are going through a lot of struggles in just trying to figure out who we are and what traditions we want to follow, what we want to keep, because we grew up with something else in the house and we go outside and we see something else, and just trying to find a balance. And I'm on one end where I'm saying I'm an American, and there's a lot of people out there who try to keep in with their traditions.
Sure.